This morning I was just thinking about this collective rawness, because COP's happening just up the road from here. And I just wanted to begin by sharing a few reflections on the film, The Magnitude of All Things. I wasn't able to join discussion yesterday, so I just had a few reflections which kind of link to my proposal. I thought it was particularly poignant to watch yesterday. The 2nd of November in Mexican culture is the Day of the Dead, where we keep alive the memories of lost companions. And it made me think how that ties into the lost species, the 200 lost species we're losing every day, and how we can keep alive the memory. I was very aware of my internal reaction to the film, this rising feeling of overwhelm. And I appreciated the beautiful presentation of truth. I thought it was a very genuine film. The ending resonated with me, to focus on the here and the now and the surroundings, and to engage our senses in that. It made me think of Joanna Macy's account of the Shambhala warrior, which is a Tibetan legend she came across. If there's time at the end, I'd like to read that out. As a way to stand calm and still in the chaos, the Shambhala warrior finds the courage to dismantle the barbarism with compassion and insight as weapons. I just felt that's really poignant to hold that idea as COP26 plays out in these weeks. And then just to say the film highlighted the challenge of climate change as being more about dealing with the storm within, how we connect to our hearts firmly enough to stand for truth and justice, locally especially. So really, yes, I guess my mission in my artwork and my research proposal is to help shift that perception towards that place. So I have to say it's quite an undeveloped proposal, because I've had a lot going on this week with half term and various other things, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to share. So my research is focuses on the idea of lost perceptions, and how these species that are going have a unique way of seeing and perceiving the world. I focused on the visual, but actually, it does encompass all sensory perception. I was thinking of the way we process light and colour, and I wondered how these species that we're losing every day saw the world. And I thought, what a beautiful way to introduce people through an exhibition, perhaps, to new ways of seeing through this work that scientists have done, to uncover how our visual systems work. I have done some preparatory work, and I was interested to discover about how the way that the bird's visual system can see magnetism, through the presence of these flavour proteins called, there's cryptochrome 4, and if that's present, it allows the bird to see the magnetic field, and that's how they navigate to fly south. And some later research has shown that we humans actually have a magnosensitivity as well, which possibly has been lost, but just not used. And then, amazingly, we've discovered that dinosaurs were sensitive to the colour red through the finding of these cryptochromes. Somehow they've done this through the DNA research. Just some other examples of the way that bees see red as blue, and snakes are able to see temperature or perceive temperature, to map that. And this links to, I had the opportunity to go on my first art residency to Northumberland, in the Pennines, And I had the opportunity to experience total darkness inside the network of disused lead mines there, which I know Tracy has done a lot of her work and research there. The brain actually creates visual hallucinations after some time in total darkness, perceiving things that aren't physically there. So that's where my interest began, really, in, the potential really for maybe resetting our sensory systems and to sort of re-navigate and find new ways of seeing the world. Yes, and I think my vision is to produce through film maybe some insight into that and allow people to experience maybe these different perceptions that have existed and do exist in the world, and these multiple ways of seeing as a doorway really to opening up maybe a collective belief into what's possible. So the other thing I'll mention just before I show my short film is I have a background in permaculture, and in a way permaculture is like a lens, and there's 12 design principles, and once you have kind of learnt those and start applying them to life, they become a kind of lens and a way of seeing. So I'm quite interested to maybe develop film and pieces of artwork that could be a portal to developing that lens as we move into this new paradigm. So I shared the Vimeo link in the chat. I hope it works for you all. Shall I share it again?
I'll stick it in there, Grace. I think it should be that one. So again,
we're going to pop out and watch it in its entirety.
Yeah, it's just I'll just say the footage was taken during my residency at Dartington and also in Northumberland, and I guess I wouldn't have seen Dartington in the way that I did if we hadn't been emerging out of lockdown and there was very few people on the site. So it kind of relates to this going down the mine and removing the noise and actually just seeing what emerges and comes out on a sensorial plane, I guess. So it's just pieces of footage that I found interesting that kind of held a resonance with that idea.
Evening rise, spirit come, sun goes down when the day is done. Mother Earth awakens me, heartbeat of the sea.
Are there any comments for Grace? Questions?
I had a really simple question, which is I wondered, it felt to me like somebody getting to know a place and actually just opening a conversation with a place and looking at it in its different weathers and times. And I wondered, are you from here, or have you come here to do the course? And was this a migrant arriving in South Devon, sort of learning to know the place, or someone speaking about their home from childhood?
I was arriving for the first time, apart from a brief visit years ago. I live in North Devon, so I passed through, but yeah, it's the first time I'd explored the site.
Is that reading of it, does that chime with your sense of what the film's doing, or maybe I'm just being a bit literal, that sense of familiarising or becoming intimate with the place?
Yes, it was tied in well. As part of the Arts and Place first module, we treated Dartington as a residency. So part of those first few weeks were exploring the site and finding about the culture, the character, the history, but also just spending time, feeling it, I guess.
I'd love to pick up the thread of the magnitude of all things, but aware that could turn into a rabbit hole. But I hope you access the Q&A at some point, which we will upload at the interview. And yeah, it'd be interesting. And would urge you to see our other new film, also out this year, the New Corporation, the unfortunately necessary sequel. That's also really worth watching as a kind of companion.
Thank you. I will.
Yeah, I've temporarily forgotten the person who wrote What Is It Like to Be a Bat. Someone else knows. No? Okay. Do you know it, Grace? If not,
No, I don't.
I'll send you the reference when it comes back to mind.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be.
But yeah, I love the idea of exploring other life perception.
Thanks. I just read the comments. Thanks.
Charles, sorry, I can't remember his name either, but there was a chap who lived as a fox for a while. What was his name? Charles something, which was all, again, about trying to inhabit another world. It's come back to me as well. It's fading brains.
Is there a chap who came to the In Other Tongues summit 4 years ago? Yes, that's right. He was there. Yeah.
Charles Forster. There you go. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then there's Marcus Coates as well. Indeed.
yeah, who did a whole series of projects being various birds and animals.
Mm.
I can point you to those, Grace.
Yeah, I've just remembered. I was on a Zoom about a month ago, and someone talked about Animus Valley, which I think is a place in Wales where retreats are held, inviting people to, just really engage with as animals with the environment. How are we doing for time? Is there time to read out Joanna Macy's Shambhala Warrior, or shall we move on?
I think we'll go for it.
Okay. This was published in 2002. The Shambhala Warrior by Joanna Macy. There comes a time when all life on earth is in danger. Barbarian powers have arisen. Although they waste their wealth in preparations to annihilate each other, they have much in common. Weapons of unfathomable devastation and technologies that lay waste to the world. It is now, when the future of all beings hangs in the frailest of threads, that the kingdom of Shambhala emerges. You cannot go there, for it is not a place. It exists in the hearts and minds of the Shambhala warriors. But you cannot recognize a Shambhala warrior by sight, for there is no uniform or insignia. There are no banners, and there are no barricades from which to threaten the enemy, for the Shambhala warriors have no land of their own. Always they move on the terrain of the barbarians themselves. Now comes the time when great courage is required of the Shambhala warriors, moral and physical courage. For they must go into the heart of the barbarian power and dismantle the weapons. To remove these weapons, in every sense of the word, they must go into the corridors of power where the decisions are made. The Shambhala warriors know they can do this because their weapons are manomaya, or mind-made. This is very important to remember. These are weapons that are made by the human mind, so they can be unmade by the human mind. The Shambhala warriors know that the dangers that threaten life on earth do not come from evil deities or extraterrestrial powers. They arise from our own choices and relationships. So now the Shambhala warriors must go into training. How do they train, I asked. They train in the use of two weapons. The weapons are compassion and insight. Both are necessary. We need the first one, he said, lifting his right hand, because it provides us the fuel. It moves us out to act on behalf of other beings. But by itself, it can burn us out. So we need the second as well, which is insight into the dependent co-arising of all beings, of all things. It lets us see the battle is not between good people and bad people, for the line between good and evil runs through every human heart. We realise that we are interconnected as in a web, and that each act with pure motivation affects the entire web, bringing consequences we cannot measure or even see. But insight alone, he said, can seem too cool to keep us going. So we need as well the heat of compassion, our openness to the world's pain. For both weapons or tools are necessary to the Shambhala warrior.
Thank you, Grace. And I think we will have to move on.